Greetings, my friends. I want to thank you all for subscribing. I want to thank all of my channel members for supporting me in this endeavor to save pop culture. And if you are not subscribed, please consider supporting this channel. We need you. Thank you. Masters of the Universe is an absolute disgrace in every way. The latest bit of woke-infested cultural vandalism from someone who either knows nothing about He-Man, cares nothing about He-Man, or just can't be bothered to give a damn about the fans. Once again, Hollywood has taken something beloved by a huge fan base, something that speaks to the childhoods of so many. Memories of days after school, watching the adventures of He-Man fighting Skeletor with friends, brothers, sisters, maybe even mom and dad. Precious little moments of our lives that live on in our hearts and memories, treated like garbage by Kevin Smith and his SJW allies, as if our memories, our childhoods, are disposable commodities to these woke wankers. They care nothing for our modern myths. They view the He-Man fan base as rubes to be taken at the carnival. They lure us in with false promises of an actual He-Man sequel. And instead of that, once we've bought our ticket and entered the big top, we find that they've pulled the old switcheroo on us. This joke of a show isn't about He-Man at all. This is a show about Teela and her female friends as they try to save Eternia when He-Man, and seemingly all the other males in the show, fail and fall. This show should be called Mistresses of the Universe Revulsion, if truth in advertising has any meaning whatsoever. I'm going to break this episode down and call it like I see it, but just know that I am beyond disgusted. This review may break down into a rant, but I'll try my best to keep my head from exploding for what these filthy cultural vandals have done to He-Man, and I will at least take comfort in the horrible Rotten Tomatoes numbers for this disgrace of a show. Yes, my friends, once again, the divide between the bought and paid for soulless shills of the mainstream media and the authentic voices of the people has been starkly revealed. Take a look at these numbers, and if you can find it within yourself to set your fury aside, treat yourself to a laugh at how blatantly busted these mainstream media hack reviewers are. It will surprise no one in this audience that the very critics who have sold their souls to Hollywood in exchange for access to early review copies and a grubby paycheck viewed this disgraceful slice of cultural vandalism as 97% fresh. Can you believe that? If you haven't seen this mess, and I don't recommend that you do, I'm going to review the first episode here in a moment. But as you listen to me telling you how predictably over-the-top SJW this creepy piece of intersectional feminist propaganda is, remember that 97% of the Hollywood reviewers think this trash was great, fresh, doing exactly what it should do, namely ruining all the male characters and pissing in the faces of all the little boys who loved He-Man, played with the toys, collected the episodes, yelled, "I have the power!" on the playground, holding up a stick with the conviction of the innocent and the young, darkening the lives of the men they became by soiling and defacing their memories of He-Man in Eternia. But even as this knowledge gnaws at your soul, even as you feel rage tightening in your chest over the running insult to the memory of He-Man that is this series, take heart. You are not alone. There are fans in the world just like you, and those fans, my friends, those honest voices out in the audience outside of Hollywood, those actual human beings have told the truth. And currently, in terms of audience score, this vile piece of propaganda is sitting at 37% fresh, which means one thing, folks. Masters of the Universe Revelation is one rotten tomato indeed. The only revelation to be found in this Masters of the Universe is how embarrassingly pandering, woke, and cringe it is. So the show starts out with a fireworks celebration, and Teela shows up looking like a warrior goddess, according to the Queen. Man-of-Arms hugs his daughter Teela as Orko shows up and cracks a joke, and Cringer Battlecat hides under the table, thinking they're under attack from the fireworks. Okay, well, so far so good. And yet we know the switcheroo is coming, don't we, folks? The only question is how long before the wave of wokeness engulfs Eternia and drowns He-Man and his allies. Shit, did Skeletor write this thing? Meanwhile, He-Man arrives at the gates of Castle Grayskull with some miscreants from Snake Mountain in tow. Only, it is revealed, He-Man has been deceived. Turns out one of those underlings is none other than Skeletor himself in disguise. Now, one would expect an excellent battle to take place here, but no luck. The wokeness begins to descend over the show as the Sorceress of Grayskull zaps Skeletor with one blow and knocks him out in a very humiliating fashion, sending him face down and unconscious. So right away, 3 minutes and 57 seconds into the first episode, we have the ultimate He-Man baddie acting like a moron and getting whipped like a cur. Or at least, it is so apparently. And is it He-Man that engages Skeletor in battle in this scene? Hell no! It's a blonde who was moments before an eagle in the sky who humiliates both Skeletor and He-Man in one fell swoop. The Sorceress of Grayskull strikes Skeletor down as He-Man stands there. Now initially this appears to degrade He-Man because he didn't see through Skeletor's illusion and was thus fooled. And then He-Man is humiliated because a woman has to fix his mistake. He isn't even allowed to give us a good battle to rectify his error. And Skeletor appears to be humiliated, not only because he's taken out like a punk, but also because they treat him like an idiot. What's the point of launching this disguise, getting inside Grayskull in a Trojan horse maneuver if he just reveals himself to be Skeletor outside the gate without striking first and when he's outnumbered? Well, as it turns out, my friends, there's more going on in this scene than meets the eye. But it doesn't change the fact that we saw and thought these things, however briefly. But I'll come back to this point in a minute because it's an important one. But don't worry, the first real wokeness comes in the next scene. Inside, the real Prince Adam frees Cringer from the bubble that was suffocating him with a pinprick, then hugs Teela from behind. So, of course, Teela has to turn things around and get poor Prince Adam into an arm lock. Such is the way of romance in Castle Grayskull, where immediately our hero has to be humiliated, put in his place for daring to be affectionate in a heterosexual way. Teela just couldn't even get a scene out without proving how superior she is to Prince Adam. Lovely messaging. She defends herself from a hug. What a gal. Meanwhile, outside the gate, turns out the Sorceress of Grayskull fell for Skeletor's plan. He-Man was actually Skeletor's ally in disguise. Turns out He-Man wasn't He-Man at all. He's with Skeletor and gets the Sorceress in an arm lock. Evil Lyn is revealed to be one of the other prisoners. The hordes of Snake Mountain are attacking in an all-out assault, and thus Skeletor's evil plan proceeds. Skeletor's not looking to seize Castle Grayskull, he's looking to level the castle by attacking its foundations. The Sorceress calls He-Man for help, but then Teela, being the leader of Grayskull's forces, commands them into battle. Adam sends Orko to Grayskull to help the Sorceress, then transforms into He-Man. "I have the power!" he shouts, and transforms into our hero. Cringer also changes into his armored battle cat mode, and together they ride into battle. A big fight takes place at Castle Grayskull, and beneath the castle, a crystal channels all the magic of Castle Grayskull, and thus the battle moves down there. A lot of back and forth as these battles go, but in the end, Skeletor burns Moss Man to ashes, so we get one man gone. He-Man gets enraged and runs Skeletor through with his sword. But it turns out this too was a trick. The sword, as it turns out, was the key all along to the Hall of Wisdom, which contains all the knowledge in the universe, where the elders concentrated all their power in a magical orb kept inside this Hall of Wisdom. Indeed, Castle Grayskull vanishes as soon as the lock opens, and get this, folks, turns out one of the most iconic castles in animation was just an illusion all along, to conceal this much better, majestic Hall of Wisdom, which is rainbow-colored. Yeah, right. Shades of Starkiller Base, anyone? Oh yeah, forget the Death Star that destroys planets. This space destroys whole solar systems. It's so much better. This is right out of the SJW playbook. Take icons of Western culture, degrade, replace, or kill them to demoralize viewers, and then relaunch your vandalized property, spewing your political beliefs and propaganda. Sure, it was an illusion earlier when He-Man screwed up, but they wanted you to believe, even if for a minute or so, that He-Man was an impotent fool and Skeletor was an idiot. That is in their playbook. Doesn't matter that they reversed it because the plot needed it to reverse. They wanted us to see it that way, if only briefly. Skeletor smashes the orb to get its power, but then the sorceress freezes time briefly to keep Skeletor from his prize for a moment, the power of Eternia and the universe. All are going to die now apparently, except that He-Man is going to use the Sword of Power to contain the blast and absorb it. So He-Man kills himself to save the universe, clearing the way for Teela to carry on as the new bestest ever. Just what you guys wanted to see, right folks? Just what you guys were promised. A sequel to Masters of the Universe, in name only. A He-Man show where He-Man and Skeletor vanish at the start. Presumably, they are dead, but even if they come back at the end, I'm certainly not going to continue watching this shit beyond this first episode. And with them out of the way, Teela and Evil Lynn and the Sorceress are left to carry on with the show. It emerges that Prince Adam was He-Man. Man-at-Arms knew it, of course, and for not telling them, he gets banished by the king. Another male bites the dust, I guess. And Teela gets all pissy that no one told her that Adam was He-Man all along, because after all, the show is all about Teela now. It's me, me, me. Don't worry about He-Man dying and Skeletor kicking the bucket. No! The big tragedy here is that Teela got lied to and got her fifis hurted. She tells the king and queen who just lost their child and their champion to basically fuck off, you liars. Teela rejects her father, her king, the palace, Eternia, and the patriarchy because they lied to Teela. That's the biggest part of this episode. They lied to Teela. Oh my stars, what are we gonna do about Teela? That's the kind of show this garbage is going to be. Are you excited yet? This is exactly what fans feared it would be. Masters of the Universe in name only. If you want to watch the Teela Show, knock yourself out. But as for me, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm disgusted by this sham, this cultural vandalism. Without respect, we reject. And thus, I reject. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry.
Ha 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 ha.